Was foretold. I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
And I'm Broadcaster Nickels.
And today we're here to preview a game that came out 8 years ago. Broadcaster Nickels, what is your memory of the original Phantasy Star Online? How much did you play it?
My memories are sitting in a basement in Rock Springs, Wyoming, watching you play it on a Dreamcast with overpriced memory cards.
Jeez. Oh, dude, I forgot about that. Those things were like $100.
Yeah, it was the main reason I couldn't play the game. I remember wanting to like have my own save file or whatever, and just it was an ungodly. It took up a whole memory card almost, or something like that. So you couldn't. Yeah.
Well, at least I wasn't just being a dick and like hogging it.
No, you definitely were doing that.
God damn.
I mean, purchase of the memory card would have only allowed me to play, 10% of the real estate available.
Yeah, that was a weird era, man. That whole late 90s era of memory cards that cost the fucking price of like a go-kart. You could buy a go-kart for $100 back then. It's the price to get a damn memory card. It was crazy times, but Phantasy Star Online for the Dreamcast was an incredibly revolutionary game. The Dreamcast was a revolutionary console well before its time, which is why it failed. People just weren't ready for it. But I can't help but think Phantasy Star Online totally changed the fabric of what an online RPG can be on a console. Because before that, it didn't exist, and co-op RPGs in general were very rare. And then Phantasy Star Online comes out, and for the Dreamcast, with a built-in modem, and all of a sudden, in the year 1999 or the year 2000, I forget when it came out, you're fucking playing an MMORPG on a console. A lot of people don't even think that the first MMORPG on a console was like in 2010 or some shit. If you ask people, that's probably what they tell you.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, because if you really think about the era the Dreamcast came out, it was just a couple years later when the PS2 and the Xbox came out, right?
Yeah, it was undercut. They undercut those by like 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, because it was like, what, Dreamcast is like 2000? 1999 to 2000?
Well, let me think about this here. The PS2 came out, I think, in the year 2000, right? So
no, because I was in Wyoming in my pretty much 4th through 5th grades, and that was pretty much 10 to 11 for me, and that would have been 2000 to 2001, and we were in that basement in those years, and that's when the Dreamcast came out. So
I think the Dreamcast came out about the same time as the PS2. Now I think about it. Maybe like a year before, year before, but they're very close together, I think. But the Dreamcast was definitely first, and it had a bunch of really good games. But PSO was the game. It was the system seller. It was the Bloodborne of the Dreamcast, and
I remember at the time just looking at it, and it was just gorgeous. It was cutting. It definitely had that cutting edge vibe just from looking at it.
Yeah, and it wasn't really an MMORPG though. It kind of was. It had some features of an MMORPG, but it was really more like a Diablo game. You had like parties of 4, and you went through the same experience, single or multiplayer. However you went through it, it was a structured levels with bosses for each level, sort of like Diablo.
Yeah, well, I mean, Phantasy Star Online, since its conception, has seemed to be an idea that's always pushing the boundaries of the existing hardware, no matter what. Maybe not so much nowadays, because everything's kind of become vanilla. But back in the day when Phantasy Star first came along, they were doing something that there's just no way that the hardware could handle it. You know, they had to trim the fat off of that, off many iterations of that game probably before it actually shipped with the Dreamcast.
Yeah. It's interesting because Phantasy Star Online 2 looks like it's an actual MMORPG. So have you seen any gameplay videos at all? Was there any gameplay in the trailer you watched?
No, there wasn't. I guess I'll just put this out there. I don't really play these games, so I don't know much about that. But the trailer showed the rendered footage of what seemed to be traditional MMO battles. And then I also I almost was more MMO than I was expecting. Like I saw a red mage looking character, I saw a tank, I saw a caster. I didn't think about Phantasy Star in that way, I guess. I used to see like high tech guns and lightsaber type weapons and stuff. That's at least what I remember from the Dreamcast version. Like there was these floating pod assistant type computer things you could get, or they were boosters or something like that. I don't remember. You're
right. It was like a bunch of just futuristic weaponry and definitely lightsabers. The thing that's weird though here is PSO2 does not look very much like PSO1. So I was a PSO super fan. I fucking played the fuck out of that game. I played it online, single player. So I'm coming at this as like a really hardcore fan of the franchise. I didn't really pay much attention to PSO2 in the last 8 years, even though it's been out in Japan, just because I was told and under the impression that it was never coming to the West, ever, and that there was really no reason to even look at it as someone who lives in America. So I didn't, and then all of a sudden a year ago they announced that this was happening, and when I looked at the gameplay I was a little surprised. This game looks much more like a game like Terra, an action MMORPG, than it does actually like PSO. It has free-form action combat with your own combos that you make yourself that aren't like hard-coded, and it looks super fluid and just really different. Way different than I expected. And that's kind of got me excited a little bit, because one of the weaknesses of PSO is that, and I think it was a hardware limitation, is that the combat sometimes felt a little clunky.
Was it totally freeform fighting in Phantasy Star Online? You didn't there was no actual turn base or wait or anything like that? It was a hack and slash?
Yeah.
It was?
It was, but it was different. There was no jumping, and there were no combos, really. You just had moves, and it was much more basic. Like, it was a much more rudimentary combat system, and it just was slower, and it was definitely action from the beginning, but it seems like they're really, with this one, really trying to make it a real MMORPG. And when you look at the bosses in that trailer, you really get that impression. Like, those bosses looked fucking crazy, and they looked like they took a lot of people to fight, not just 4.
Yeah. Well, most of them besides that artillery cruiser. I didn't really... that really stood out to me in the trailer. I was like, you guys, all this future I don't know, warriors, I guess you call them, all going against what looks to be a 21st century Navy cruiser. Like, what the fuck is so special about that?
I have no idea. It's very weird. It's like a very Japanese thing to do. Like, when you think about just how they like to do really weird, quirky bosses, especially in like the more nerdy Japanese RPGs, the ones that you don't really play, like Persona.
It just really stood out when you look at like the 7-faced winged deity that they were all going against, and then they ended with the fucking cruiser just being stuck on an icy shore, and all these warriors just like getting ready to hit the side of the ship. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
I half expected Steven Seagal to jump up on top of it, just be like, "Oh, you thought you were fighting the ship? I am the ship."
Yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio's the captain. That's what you find out. Jack's alive, or is he? Dum dum dum.
But yeah, the graphics are very plain looking, very washed out, and they kind of look like if you took FF14's graphics and like downgraded them to 50% quality.
Well, I mean, it's an 8-year-old game, right?
Yeah, and it's a side effect of it being so old, but at the same time, it's kind of amazing how fluid that they've made the combat. So I've seen more on this than you have. I've seen a bunch of like combat, people fighting, like actual gameplay. I've seen actual gameplay, and it is very fast, like Guilty Gear fast. And it's odd watching it with an 8-year-old action MMORPG, because 8 years ago, that's about when Terra came out, and Terra had a hard time with its animations and the quality when it first came out. Like it wasn't very fast, and it felt kind of clunky because it was a new type of combat. And it's weird to me that this game, PSO2, basically came out at the same time, and they fucking nailed it. I don't know if this is a thing that came over time, because I believe there's like 7 expansion packs that, by the way, all come for free.
Yeah, they made that pretty clear in the trailer.
But yeah, it's interesting that a game looks like it licked the action combat system, as in perfected it, and it's just now coming out 8 years later in America. No one really knows it. It's like this weird secret of Japan.
Well, I kind of see why. It's one of those video games that, how do I say, has a certain aesthetic and demographic that really loves that set aesthetic. It's like the weeboo type. I don't want to offend anybody, but it's like that type of art is really for what a lot of people call the weeboo culture, you know? And I can see why Japan, as like a Japanese developer, would be cautious, or the company even behind that developer would be cautious of putting it on the Western market, because it does take a lot of money in advertisement, even if it's very little, to get it all going. And I don't know. It's just, I could see why it took a long time. Maybe at this point they had the infrastructure, because I don't know who released this game, but maybe they just had the infrastructure set up in the Western market at that point for it to be pretty cheap to implement and, just see if it worked out. And who knows, if it does go well, then it will change the future. I don't know if there's a Phantasy Star Online 3 coming, but maybe that's kind of what they're doing, is testing the waters to see if they should have a Western copy of Phantasy Star Online 3 when it ships.
Yeah, a lot of people think that the reason that it's so smooth in the English version is because they're using Microsoft's Azure platform for the servers, and apparently those are really good for MMORPG performance. I don't really know why. I'm not a Microsoft guy. I don't own an Xbox, but it seems clear to me, based off the fact that this is an Xbox console exclusive, that Microsoft went out convinced these guys to bring it over to America. I don't think they had plans. I think that I was originally correct in what people told me, and that I think Microsoft just begged them and threw the bank at them. Back to Brink's truck.
I don't know that Microsoft's begging anybody nowadays. That cloud farm of theirs is pretty good. A lot of people, fucking Sony's going to use it.
Well, what I mean to say is, so Microsoft has been trying to get a good MMORPG on its platform for a long time. They tried to get Yoshi P to port Final Fantasy XIV to Xbox, and he tried to too, but there was a bunch of politics and stuff, and they couldn't get it done, so hence FF14's still a PS4 console exclusive. The fact that Microsoft tried so hard to get FF14 on their platform, to me, says that they really want one of these games. And if they didn't get FF14, I feel like they might have went out for PSO2 to compete with FF14. Because it's the messaging in the trailer is very, oh, this is an Xbox game. You know what I mean? Like when you watch that trailer, you don't even know it's a PC game. If you were to watch it, you just think it was only on Xbox.
Yeah, that's interesting because now that you say that, I remember just reading the giant title that said coming out via Xbox One X.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really think about that as I was reading it, though. I didn't take that as being exclusive. That makes sense. So you're gonna buy an Xbox to play this game?
It's on PC too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's exclusive to Xbox and PC. But what I'm saying is that the messaging in that trailer, you wouldn't know that. You would think it was just Xbox exclusive. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Windows, and I personally like it, but I could see how this is a good example of how it would be misleading that Xbox is now a PC platform, because that's kind of seems how it's going to be from here on out. Xbox/Microsoft is kind of just wanting it to go that way, because we all know this is pretty much the last big console generations coming out. After this, it's just going to be all digital platform. So yeah, the future of the console market is so weird to think about, because we're definitely at a weird transformative stage that's just starting. Yeah. Well, yeah, this is kind of off topic, for sure. I like how Google Stadia came out and it just crashed and burned, and everyone thinks it's just a joke. But I mean, whilst the console itself is a joke, the infrastructure is still there, and it's only going to improve. Google is going to come back, and if they're not going to come back, they're going to sell it to their infrastructure to somebody that will make it come back. If it's not, I mean, what's Xbox shit called? They have a Game Pass where you can stream pretty much, I don't know, thousands of games, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, they all have that now. All the platforms have streaming games services or whatever.
Sony, I thought, Sony's in the middle of.
There's this PlayStation Now. Yeah, they have PlayStation Now. Okay. Microsoft has Game Pass. Switch has NES and SNES Classic or whatever.
Yeah, so NVIDIA has one now too, right? What? GeForce Now.
Oh, for the love of Christ! Yeah, the same thing that's happening with fucking movies and television is now happening with video games. We're just getting into these fractured ecosystems where everyone wants their own goddamn platform, and it's like, dude, just give it a rest.
Yeah, I think Steam's going to be a warrior of the cause in the future fights, I believe.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see how good Half-Life Alex is.
back to Phantasy Star Online.
Yeah. Thing I find interesting about this game, based off of what I've seen, is that because it's an actual MMORPG now and less of a cooperative single-player RPG, which the original PSO sort of was, I have a feeling that it's going to be much lighter on storyline, to the point where I wonder if the storyline is going to be a joke.
Well, I mean, most of the time to me, most storylines are jokes.
Well,
I mean, at some point.
That's true, but PSO...
World of Warcraft was good up to a point, then it kind of became a joke to me. And then Final Fantasy 14 is like the only thing that really stands out. I mean, sometimes you could say their storyline gets, but there's some pretty big high points.
Let's not forget Old Republic. That has the best storyline of MMORPG history. It's better. God. And I love FF14. You know, I'm an FF14 fanboy, and I will freely admit that KOTOR Online had the best MMO storylines of all time.
Yeah, it was actually a pretty gripping storyline. I actually haven't played all of them either. Because there's three separate ones, right?
Dude, they were all good, too. It's not like just one of them was good. I played all the classes on the dark side in that game, and every single storyline was amazing. The Imperial agents, which you would think would probably be the worst, was probably the best, dude. Basically, Imperial agents are like these secret CIA spooks that follow around the Sith assassins and the Inquisitors and the Juggernauts and cleans up their mess behind them. And it was just like such a great storyline that was totally unexpected and something that'd be more out of like Breaking Bad than a Star Wars game. So it was really, really cool. And then of course, just the regular Sith storylines, while, you know, they're going to be a little tropey because it's like, you know, you're a fucking Sith Inquisitor, you're doing Sith things. There's going to be memes, but
the storyline actually drew you in. That's what impressed me about the game the most. It wasn't just an interesting storyline where you go tell people like, this is one of the best storylines I've ever seen in a game. It's actually like a movie you want to really go see. You know, they really captured that. I don't know what they've done with the game since, if they've added more of that quality of storyline, but the original content of that game was really compelling. So
yeah, it was. I've heard that the new content is good, but it comes so few and far between that it's hard to like stick with the game, is basically the sentiment I hear. I think it's like they get new content once every like year and a half, like 18 months or so. It's not good.
Well, it's free to play, right?
It is, and so is Phantasy Star Online too, which is interesting. Yeah, so for free, you're going to get 8 years worth of content in this game. And
I'm sure there's a battle pass coming.
Well, apparently the developers have claimed the only microtransactions are cosmetic, which is astonishing in a free-to-play game if true. But some games, are there any free-to-play games that are only cosmetic? Can you think of a single one, actually?
Not yet. No.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of that right now.
This is interesting because this makes me think that, like, it's kind of like you said, there must be some type of contract this is involved with. Maybe the company that owns Phantasy Star Online, whoever they are, really just wanted access to the server farm and a way to sweeten the pot and maybe get a discount overall was to give Microsoft Phantasy Star Online, an MMO, a big MMO, that they could, hopefully make some money off or sell a service, like their streaming service, for instance. And the company that owns Phantasy Star Online has something bigger on the horizon that they're going to use with their access to the server farm. Who knows? Like, say, Phantasy Star Online 3, which won't be free to play.
Probably not. Yes. Yeah. That's an astute observation. That is probably the case because from, Eagle's eye view right now of this game, it seems like it's an incredible value. Like an incredible value. It seems too good to be true. And when you pair just the massive amount of content they're giving you for absolutely free in a totally unlocked version of the game, and on top of that, they're saying, don't worry, guys, the only microtransactions are cosmetic. To me, that just screams like there's got to be a catch. And to me, I think your theory is probably the best theory as to what the catch is. We're going to do this now for you, Microsoft. You're going to have a competitor in the MMORPG market finally, but you got to give us a deal on our next game that we want also on your Azure servers or what, something to that effect.
Because, I haven't looked into it too much. I'm really just going off of what I heard from other people. And that's really just it. That the Azure farms are pretty sought after. Like, they're some of the best in the world, apparently, for gaming. So it seems like Microsoft has kind of positioned themselves to be like the leader in the future fight for getting games to a lot more people than you would with just selling consoles.
Yeah, I think Microsoft really has swung the momentum in the console race back in their favor, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, but what is that race anymore? It's a race to obsolescence, I feel like. Very soon.
And I would almost correct you in a way and say they didn't really improve their fight in the console war. I'd say they abandoned the console war and and started a whole new war.
Sort of, yeah.
And the first to throw the first punch, you know.
It's a solid point. That could be it, because, you know, you do have the Xbox CEO saying really weird stuff like our competitor now is Google. So that kind of lends itself to your theory quite well.
Yeah, you gotta have some big fucking cojones or be super confident in what you got behind the curtain to say shit like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Or it just makes you look like a clown, which Microsoft is not immune to being, but I'm just saying.
Yeah. So back to PSO2. The audio quality seems really suspicious. I think that it might end up being the worst part of the game. So I saw some gameplay videos with some boss fights and just some regular encounters, quite a bit of varied stuff. And the sound effects like all kind of coalesce at a high pitch, and it just kind of sounds like it just has this really weird, I don't even know how to describe it, but it reminds me of like PC games from the late 90s. I don't know if you've ever played any of those, but like they had this weird phase where sound cards were changing, Sound Blaster was taking over, and they were doing sound effects in a weird way that made them all sound high pitched, and it made them all kind of bleed into each other and sound odd.
A lot of cut.
Yeah, it was a weird time back then, and I feel like this game suffers from the same problem. It's kind of hard to explain without actually hearing it for yourself, but the music also seems kind of bad, and that really makes me sad because PSO, the original, has one of the better game soundtracks of all time. I still listen to the PSO soundtrack like a couple times a year. It's really, really good soundtrack. And the music I heard in PSO2 sounded god-awful for the most part. So I'm thinking audio might be the weakness of this game, and maybe UI as well. I don't know if... No, you didn't see the UI. So the UI looks like something out of 2002. It's very... it's very weird UI, and it looks like it's a mess. I can only imagine how bad it gets once you like start crafting or doing like secondary skills that involve like bunches of materials and shit. The way that menu looks, it's probably just a chore to do stuff like that.
So that's really how this game works. It's actually an MMORPG. Like
it is.
Real one.
Yeah, you can fish. There's gathering. It's a real MMO.
Oh, that's so weird.
It is. And what else is weird is the characters now all wear Gundam suits. I don't know if you picked that up from the trailer you saw.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if those were mech suits or if they were actually mechs.
Yeah, so no, they're all well, they're not humans. They're all different races that are all basically, variants of humans. But your class is what determines what your Gundam suit looks like. So every class has its own Gundam suit that you put on. And it's literally just turns you into a human-sized Gundam that you fight as. It's very interesting. The classes do look very varied, though. I think there's five or six, and they all look really cool. So I think that this might be one of those games where I actually play alts. I usually don't play alts in MMOs anymore. I usually just stick to one thing, but this game looks like it might be different on that front.
Sure, yeah. I mean, after I watched the trailer, I'm definitely gonna check it out. I didn't realize it was free to play until I watched that.
Yeah, that was a good trailer, too.
Dude, the bosses were crazy.
Yeah,
one of the bosses really it reminded me of Onimusha 4.
Oh yeah,
the beginning of Onimusha 4. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you can tell they put all of their effort into making this game's combat and boss battles stand out, because that's the impression I get, that basically the 80% core of the game is that's where they put all their marbles into, and that's what everyone raves about too, that plays it in Japan. And like, there's a lot of info out there about this game because it's fucking old. People rave about this game's combat and the gameplay in general.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the actual gameplay. Is it kind of like Final Fantasy 14 or
no.
I mean not Final Fantasy 14 but 15? Do you like you just run around and kind of log on, or
it's It's a lot like Terra mixed with PSO1. I don't know if
I'm not familiar with Terra.
No, it's hard to explain. Aeon. Did you play Aeon? That's another action RPG, MMORPG.
Negative.
Yeah, well, it's a new genre for you then. You've never seen anything like this. It's not like FF14 at all. You can just imagine the PSO gameplay and just imagine mixing it kind of with Guilty Gear, I guess is the best way I can describe it to you, because it's much faster, much more fluid. You like jump and fly and shit. So it's just a really crazy, frantic action gameplay style for an MMO.
Huh.
And I don't really like a lot of action MMORPGs either, so when I first heard that that's what this was, I was skeptical a little bit, but then, I thought, okay, I like PSO enough where I gotta at least give it a shot. And then when I actually looked at the videos, that's when I realized, like, oh, these guys perfected this shit. The reason I didn't like these other ones is because they weren't like this. They were all weird and clunky and slow, and you could see just from watching it like that. And in those gameplay videos I saw, gameplay is not what I'm concerned with at all in this game. I have a feeling the gameplay is going to be perfect, but
it's been going for 8 years. Something's going right.
Yep. But you're going to have to sacrifice graphics and definitely audio quality and probably a storyline. I have just this weird feeling the storyline is going to be very bare bones, but I hope I'm wrong about that.
Hopefully they have a good skip method button.
Oh man, I miss Sega games. This game is very much a Sega game. And that's one thing that just stands out when you see it in action, all the way down to the shitty interface too. Even the shitty interface, you're like, yep, this looks like something you'd see on a Sega game.
Yeah, dude, Sega was the diabolic scientists, master evil villains of gaming back in the day, man. Remember Sega Gaming Channel, Sega Dreamcast? They were artifacts of the gaming industry. They were like lightning, too fierce to capture in a bottle. Technology that ancient civilization made that died, and you could never figure out how it worked. Yeah. So it just died in time.
Yeah, Sega getting ousted is sort of like the Ned Stark getting killed in season 1. Spoiler alert of Game of Thrones. It feels kind of the same way. It's like, why? Why'd you take Sega from us?
I think they really just stopped doing things. Kind of like Rare, the company. They just stopped being who they were supposed to be, I guess.
See, I disagree with that completely, because the last console they made was their best console. The Dreamcast was the best Sega console.
Well, that was when they were making hardware, because they still stuck around
that's what I mean.
Software company.
I'm talking about Sega as a hardware and software company. When PSO came out, that's what they were still. And it came through when you played the original PSO, because of how well it performed. You could tell that the people that made that game, they worked on the console. Like, these were not teams that weren't close to each other, because they got every ounce out of that Dreamcast.
I think you had to be honest.
Yeah.
That thing was revolutionary. I'm sure it was a nightmare to code on. You had to be pretty close to the hardware engineers to make shit work.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, are you in? Are you in on this game? Broadcaster Nickels, are you in on PSO2? I demand an answer right now.
Fat Cat Nickels gives it 1.5 thumbs up. I will definitely download it and install it on my hard drive and give it a half an hour of my time. But seriously, I mean, I'm definitely going to try it out. The trailer alone made me interested. I didn't realize it was going to be an actual MMO, but now that you're telling me it has more of a action adventure type combat, I'm interested, because I saw that there were swords in the trailer. So combined with the gameplay you're telling me, and swords, that sounds pretty dope.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited for this game and going to be playing the fuck out of it, and hopefully you will be too, Broadcaster Nickels. I do not believe we will review this game ever, because reviewing an MMORPG is kind of an interesting task. I don't know, maybe we will if you decide to actually play it all the way through all the tiers of content, but I would want to judge the game completely, and being complete would be playing like a shitload of content, so we'll see. And we're back with our review of Jay and Silent Bob Reboot. As with all of our reviews here at the Crack Cellar, there are lots and lots of spoilers coming at you, so if you haven't seen this movie yet, you should probably pause right now, go watch it, and come back to us later. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, what is your favorite Kevin Smith movie?
Ooh. You know, it definitely is not Tusk. Let's
Really?
I actually went and saw that in theaters.
Oh, you poor soul.
Out of all the Kevin Smith movies, I've never gone to go actually see in theaters.
Wow.
I picked that one.
You chose Tusk.
Yep. Yeah, it was bad.
Damn.
But anyways, I think my favorite is between Dogma and probably Dogma and Strikes Back. Those two are just super funny.
Yeah, Dogma was definitely a really good one. But mine is Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. What are your general thoughts on this movie?
It's hard. I don't want to say it's a little too woke, because it rides this boundary for me. In the beginning, it was bad. Just right off the bat. I think the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie really set this bad precedent for me. But then it slowly recovered in the form of using old references and things like that. And it was just good comedy in general for a little bit. Then they started to, I don't want to give it away too much, but started to use these certain, how I'd say, consistent elements throughout the 2018, 19s, and now 2020. But they then started to make fun of it a little bit in the end. And it kind of it confused me. I was just like, I don't know if these guys are being woke right now, or if they're cleverly just walking the line and making everyone confused. I don't know.
No, I think everyone's confused because Kevin Smith was confused when he wrote this movie. And I say this with such a heavy heart, but I don't see why this movie should even exist. This is one of those movies where after watching it, you wonder, did you just need the money? Are you hard up for money?
No.
What is this? Because
I doubt that.
You just shit on one of the greatest comedy movies of all time by doing a weird fourth wall breaking. I don't even want to call it a film. It's not a film. It's like a fourth wall breaking mockumentary that's LARPing as Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah, it was weird. It felt like I was on this this ride on rails at a theme park. That was all that universe, you know? I was slowly just getting taken past all these iconic characters and locations, and they were all just really corny, corporate corny. You know? I'm a corporate person wearing a suit. Oh, look at me. It just seemed really played out and sad for the most part.
Very sad.
But there was a couple moments in the movie where I was genuinely surprised at them being funny. They came out of nowhere, but one of the writers over there had a heart. He wanted to try to make something out of the fucking movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's still Kevin Smith, and it's still the same character, so you're going to have some funny parts no matter what. And there were definitely a few parts I laughed at in this movie. I wasn't stone cold in pain the entire time, but the Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is one of the greatest comedies of all time. It's a cult comedy masterpiece. so to speak. It's not high art comedy, but anyone that was a teenager when that movie came out will basically tell you it's the funniest movie they ever saw. I almost choked laughing the first time I saw the Click Commander scene. Like, I literally almost died, I think, from laughing so hard at that. And this movie has nothing like that. There is not a single part. And the sad thing is they try so many times in this movie. They reach for one of those moments, and it's like fucking Shaq just stuffing a fourth grader trying to put a shot up in the key. You know, it's just like, no, none of it's not even coming close to landing. It's not even getting in the air to land. And it's sad. And one of the things is in the beginning of this movie, it starts out really bad. The first scene is super cringy with the Chappelle Show guy. I always forget, Donnell Rawlins. Yeah. Donnell Rawlins. That was one of the least funny scenes I've ever seen that guy in. And that whole thing was just, should have been cut. The next scene, though, with the lawyer, Justin Long, your boy from Tusk, that, I think, was one of the funnier scenes in the entire movie.
It was.
And it was mainly because of Justin Long.
Yeah.
That guy delivered. And this is really funny because there are so many big name actor. We're going to go into this more, but let's just say on a fucking broad level, this is a cameo movie. Every fucking scene in this movie is another cameo. And Justin Long delivered one of the only solid acting performances in this entire goddamn movie. And for that, Justin Long, he gets my MVP. And he's only in the movie for 5 minutes. So that kind of tells you where we're at.
There were some good moments, though, I will say. Like, what was it when... without giving away too much, there's a reference to Glenn Ross in the movie. And fuck it, I thought it was Kevin Smith's best moment in the movie, to be honest. I want to say who he was giving it to, but it was a solid performance. And what was it? Fred, oh God, what's his name? Fred Armisen from Portlandia. He knocked it out of the park too. His character was awesome.
He's good too. He's probably my number 2 right behind Justin Long. But again, this guy was in the movie for about 5 minutes.
No, he came back, remember?
Okay, 10 minutes. You're right. Two sets of 5 minutes.
But, sit on a bald dick. Who wrote that? Was that you?
But in the courtroom scene, it kind of starts the wokeness, and it really gets you right off of the rails early on when the judge, who's the black guy from The Office, the guy who was the dude from
I think maybe it's Craig Robinson. I'm not quite sure.
He was one of the laborers that worked down in shipping or whatever, who, like, you know, the grunts. Yeah. And he eventually became a main character on The Office later on, but early on he was just like a very far into orbit side character. This guy is the judge, and he delivers one of the worst wannabe woke lines I've ever heard. He tells fucking Jay he tells his mouth to take a knee. And it is horrible line, doesn't even make sense, delivered poorly, and even people that like that sort of shit are not going to like that. That was just a horrible, horrible line. And it just kind of gives you this intro into some of the shit you're going to see throughout this movie, because this movie has a real problem with bad acting. There is a lot of really poor acting in this movie. And surprisingly, some of it comes from Jason Mewes, Jay himself.
Well, I was just about to say how half the people in this movie haven't acted since the last time you saw him.
You're probably right about that.
So,
and Jason Mewes, he forgot how to act. He's
been addicted, dude. He's gone through like addiction like crazy. You can tell, dude.
You can tell. And
they made fun of it, like fucking Kevin Smith's daughter, the blonde one that ironically plays Jason Mewes' daughter in the movie. Is like calls them meth heads in the beginning. I thought that was really funny in a meta way.
That was actually one of the funnier. Yeah. So there are definitely some little funny spots in this movie. But another thing with Jason Mewes is his fucking teeth are distracting. He has like fake teeth on the top, and they're like the wrong height. So your eye just every once in a while catches it, and it like fucks with your head. And it's really distracting.
His lip. His lip has like been methed out. It's like stretched out, and it's covering most of his teeth. That's what it is. I think it is, to be honest.
No, his teeth, his front middle teeth are definitely at the wrong height for the rest of his real teeth, or if they're real teeth. I don't know. He might have no teeth. I don't know what's going on in that mouth.
Those are definitely fake teeth.
Well, I know the top middle is because it was very, very obvious. And it looked like dentures almost, like really bad dentures. And it was super distracting the whole movie. Every time he was talking, that's all I could see.
Don't hate us, Jason Mewes.
But back to what I was going at when I was describing the beginning of this movie. What I was trying to get to was the comic book store scene that came right after the courtroom scene. So this is where this movie gave me hope. And the comic book owner is giving this speech about what reboots and remakes are. And he does one of the greatest things I've ever heard anyone do on Hollywood regarding this topic. He says, describe what's the movie I'm describing. And he describes to a T Star Wars, A New Hope, the original Star Wars. And then they answer Star Wars, and he says, no, Force Awakens. This line was fucking amazing, stunningly good, and it is a wonder that you can have lines that good in this movie, but then the other 80+% just be hot garbage.
Yeah, and that's kind of like what I was saying earlier. This movie kind of borderlines on making fun of itself in a weird way, and almost making fun of just what the movie stands for, like reboots and remakes. Like, I don't know that actor's name. I don't even know the character's name, to be honest. But the comic shop owner. It's like when, spoiler alert, Ben Affleck makes his appearance. I don't know if you picked up on it or not, but when he talks about him being Bruce Wayne and then figuring out he's actually Thomas Wayne, and like that, like the analogy coming together with chasing Amy and his daughter being named Amy and having a co-op parenthood with her and shit. Like, it all was like really sad and symbolic in a way. I was just like, wow. I was like, did they really just do that? Like, did Ben Affleck really agree to pretty much just like make a joke out of his real life? Cause that's what happened. That's literally what he just went through.
Yeah. And that scene you're talking about, in a movie that I do not look too fondly on, that was one of my least favorite scenes in the entire movie. Oh my God, was that scene was it was like going to the dentist, that scene. The chick that played Amy, for one thing, looks like a monster now. She got shit tons of plastic surgery. She looks like a monster, and she can't act. She can't act a fucking lick, dude. I couldn't believe it. She's one of those people you're talking about that has not acted since the last time she was, probably when she was in Chasing Amy. And then that's good enough. Okay, whatever. But then you got Ben Affleck, who is an active actor that's in a shitload of movies. He is warmed up, and his fucking lines were horrible. That whole monologue was depressing and weird, didn't fit in the movie. And holy shit, why was that not cut? That whole scene should have been cut. I can tell you right now why it wasn't cut. Because he's Ben fucking Affleck.
Well, yeah, and he has one of those characters everyone is expecting to come back.
Well, they all are, dude. Every single Kevin Smith movie is represented in this movie. He brought least one person from he brought the entire original cast of Clerks for that one scene where they go black and white.
Yeah.
Which was actually that was one of the parts of the movie I did.
I was about to say, I was like, don't make fun of that. That was actually pretty good.
No, that was cool. The way that they that was probably the best acting that Jason Mewes did the entire movie too, when they like freaked out because they're black and white. That was pretty good. But yeah, it's just a series of cameos. He brought every single person has ever acted in one of his movies that's still alive in this movie. It's fucking incredible. But not in a good way. And that Ben Affleck scene really fucking shows you, like in a microcosm, just that one scene, exactly what's wrong with this movie. And it's that it has no fucking idea what it is. It plays more like a mockumentary than a comedy sequel.
Yeah. I think that was kind of what they were trying to go for, to be honest. I think that's what they were hoping was going to be their internet shield, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because personally, when it comes to these things, I wish they just were never made. When I hear there's going to be a new Jay and Silent Bob in this day and age, I'm just like, no, please don't, because that type of comedy is just dead to me. It's just, it's never going to be genuine anymore. If it is, people are going to freak out and it's going to get canceled before I can even see it. You know? So I just, when I see that or hear about that shit, it's like, just stop. Please.
Yeah. It's the only thing I can really think of with this movie is that they were afraid to make a new Jay Silent Bob movie because they know in woke 2020 it's not going to fly, and Kevin Smith is in those left-wing circles, so he's friends with those people that are not going to like him for it. So what do? They make a Spaceballs like version of Jay and Silent Bob where they're making fun of themselves essentially throughout the entire movie, and they can't even decide what it is either. Like in this whole reboot remake thing is a perfect example. They name the movie Reboot. Then they talk about the differences between remake and reboot. And then you go through this movie with varying degrees of, well, this is why reboots suck. Well, actually reboots are good. And it goes back and forth several times, almost like the movie, they don't actually want you to have an opinion on it. It's almost like they're trying to just be like, well, whatever. You know, movie's a movie. Like they're almost trying to brainwash you with just the mixed signals they send. And that Star Wars line in the beginning is what starts it off. You feel like this movie is going to be like a sort of an opposition piece to the way Hollywood is churning out these remakes constantly. And especially with the way, like, after he's talking shit about all the remakes and they bring up Marvel, he's like, oh no, you don't dare talk about Marvel. I live on Marvel. I jerk off to Marvel. They were going after it. I thought they were going after these fuckers. And then the whole rest of the movie, it's fucking, they might as well be coddling the balls of Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, it might be just a war of minds in the writing department. Who knows? Or maybe it was really just them really being on the same track. They were just like, well, let's just put just barely enough things in there to keep people from keep people from complaining, essentially. And I think that's exactly what their motivation was. And it just made it seem super awkward in the end. Like, out of all the references in that movie, which all came off almost all of them came off super cringy, where it was the Method Man and Red Man reference. I almost had a little bit of a tear in my eye when that happened, because that was like a movie from my childhood. And it introduced me to so many types of culture, different aspects of culture in my young childhood. And just seeing them play that line over, like, it almost jumped to the movie. It was super cool. It was like watching that scene play out in the back seat as a ghost, just for a second, when he's like, you got any weed? You got any papers? I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah. And I'm usually not a fan of like retconning your own universe. And that's sort of what they're doing by making them fans of How High in this movie, because Jay and Silent Bob came out, I think the same time, right? Or before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back? Correct me if I'm wrong here. Wasn't How High before Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Yes, I'm pretty damn sure, because I remember having How High on VHS, and Jay and Silent Bob, at least the first one, maybe. Are you talking about Strikes Back? Or are you talking about the first Jay and Silent Bob?
I was talking about Strikes Back.
Is there a first Jay and Silent Bob?
Well, Jay and Silent Bob were in like almost all of their movies, so all of them are Jay and Silent Bob. All these movies are, you could almost call them the same movie. Like, you could really just say Kevin Smith Show, movie 1, movie 2, movie 3. Like,
what was the one they really debuted in though? Mallrats. They were the Mallrats, weren't they? I mean, that's kind of what.
Yeah, they were in Mallrats.
Okay. And that's kind of what I consider Jay and Silent Bob one, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, where they really come from is Clerks. That's where they debuted.
They were background characters in Clerks, though.
They were, but they were, but so Man, this movie. So we're establishing that they're making fun of reboots and remakes, but it's a reboot itself. So you got this weird like Spaceballs effect going on. It almost seems like it's intentional sometimes, not intentional others, but they make it a point to make the plot the exact same as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. It's literally the exact same plot. You can replace the hot chick diamond thieves with Jay's daughter and her woke friends. Same thing, same outcome in the end. Like, it's all like, it's sad how exactly same it all is. And you can just replace the film studio in Hollywood and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back with the convention at the end of this movie. But the difference is the convention sucked. Most of the worst parts of this movie are in that last chunk, including that fucking horrendous Batfleck scene where he had to fucking lecture us all about, oh, you're going to miss me now that I'm not Batman anymore. No one gives a fuck, Ben Affleck. We didn't want you.
I mean, nothing was worse to me than the very last scene. Not the very last scene, but the very last scenes was with that Asian chick that ended up being a Russian agent.
Yeah.
That made me cringe so bad.
Yes, and we'll talk about that later. Let's save that for a little bit, because I'm a total agreement with you, and Jesus fucking Christ. But I want to focus on the good at first, because before we just start skewering this thing.
Is that what we were doing? Focusing on the good?
No, well, okay. So I think the best part of this movie are the cameo scenes that have nothing to do with the movie. Now, there are two different types of cameo scenes in this movie. There are the ones that are just standalone, that have absolutely nothing to do with anything, that they just threw in randomly. And what I'm mainly talking about here is Matt Damon. The Matt Damon scene is so fucking good. I laughed harder at that than I laughed at anything in the entire rest of the movie. And then Method and Redman. The shit that has nothing to do with the movie itself, like the plot.
Yeah, pretty much.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
I mean, the Glengarry Glen Ross scene was genuinely pretty funny to me, because I'm a huge fan of that movie. And as soon as he started, it's just like this slow realization of what he was doing. I was like, is he doing Glengarry Glen Ross? And that hit me up. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, those were definitely the best appearances, no doubt.
Yeah, and man, I can't really think of much else positive with this movie. So before we move on, Broadcaster Nickels, do you have any positive things you would like to call out in this movie?
No, no, not really.
Oh man.
Oh no. I do have another positive thing. The fact that, what's her name? Jay's wife, the baby's mama.
You mean Nadia from American Pie?
Yeah, Nadia from American Pie. And Rosario Dawson.
Oh, yeah.
Rosario Dawson. The fact that they were a couple.
Oh, I know.
That kind of got me swelling up in my pants a little bit. I was like, oh, shit.
That was like the best possible outcome when that door opened. You're just like, oh.
So there's another positive.
Yes.
But I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, and I don't think the creators of the movie actually wanted you to think it was a positive in the way that you think it's a positive. So
I beg to differ.
So all right. So from here on out, after the comic book scene, it becomes Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back again. And they do all the same type of travel. Oh, we're going to travel. Here's a meme here, a travel comedy scene here, blah, blah, blah. Problem is, it all sucks. The scene with Molly Shannon in the airport was fucking stupid. It was so cringy. And the way that fucking Kevin Smith wrote it to get in like his little, hey guys, look at me, I'm skinny now, haha, isn't that funny? Was one of the most and this, one thing I'm going to say a lot in this review is masturbatory writing. There's a lot of it in this movie, and this is one of those examples. Not even a bad one either. There's way worse examples, but this is one of them where he specifically wrote this scene just so he could get something in there to kind of be like, hey guys, Kevin Smith's skinny now. He's in good shape. He's a vegan. You know, he's on that vegan diet. And I wanted to kill myself watching that scene.
Speaking of veganism, it was very heavy-handed in the movie. The message was everywhere.
Oh yeah, there were multiple things. The drive-through was the worst one. Where
it almost made my head spin in the van when I saw like all those cultures in the back, and they were all like, "We're vegan." I was like, "Oh, my head's spinning with wokeness."
Yeah, and this is where. Okay, so I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I'm gonna go back. So after the airport scene, we have a scene with Fred Armisen, where part one with him, where we discover the tater tots, the hater tots. So this scene is the bad scene with him. So the one that comes later is really genuinely funny and great, but this first one is super cringy. He tells the guys, Jay and Silent Bob, his backstory about tater tots and why he cooks them in his fucking car. And it is one of the most dumb, concocted bullshit things I've ever heard of in my life. And it ends with, "Oh, but then we found out the white nationalists love tater tots, so I had to stop." And holy fucking shit, was that cringy. What the fuck? Did you just need to say the word white nationalist in the movie? Was that just like a bet you made with someone in a bar that you'd put it in or something? Like, what the fuck was that?
It was just a movie checking off one of the boxes in the long list of SJW tactics for Hollywood culture and movies.
Jesus Christ, man. It broke my heart. It broke my heart watching this movie because there's so many scenes where they're just stepping on the legacy of Jay and Silent Bob being fucking anti-heroes. They're politically incorrect anti-heroes, and they're fucking out there. I'm not going to call them woke because they're not. They're specifically like they used to. Well, Jay is like he used to be. Silent Bob is not, and that's another problem I have with this movie is his overacting with facial expressions. He decided, I don't know who got this in his head, but he decided that he was too in the background previously, even though that was the whole basis of the fucking character. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to steal the show this time by making cartoonish facial expressions constantly to the point where you just want to punch him in the face.
Yeah, the texting thing too, where he like text, he imply that he was doing like 80 commands on the phone, and then you just turn it around and it was an emoji.
I know. More cringy emoji humor, because we didn't get enough of that in that Always Sunny episode that was like the only stinker of the season. We really just need emoji humor, guys. That's what all the kids love.
Fucking kills
Christ. Me. It was so bad. The emoji stuff was really fucking bad. Every time it happened, I'm just like, why are you doing this? And the whole, like you said, the 80 commands and then it's that one fucking thing. Okay, you did that once, whatever. It was a dumb joke, but you did it. They did it like 2 more times, right? Or 3 more times? I forget. But they did it a bunch more times.
They did it a bunch more times with Kevin Smith, and then they did it with Val Kilmer playing Blunt Man.
Yeah. So at this point, you know, he sees the commercial of fucking Nadia on TV. He's like, I'm going to go bang Nadia again. And he tracks her down, all very loosey-goosey with the way this all happens. It seems very convenient, and it seems like not a lot of distance is traveled and, you know, yada, yada, whatever. From this point on, this movie is essentially the exact same movie as Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back, but with the woke.
Well, they make fun of it.
Yeah, it just becomes woke, making fun of the old guys. So what happens in this movie is Jay and Silent Bob become punching bags. They become straight white male, cis white male. You know, that's who they're playing at this point. And the whole rest of the movie is just coming down on them constantly, and mostly in the form of Kevin Smith's daughter, who plays Jay's daughter in the movie, which, by the way, is super weird. And I know you want to get your daughter in this fucking movie, but she's not a good actress. And I've seen her in 3 things now, and she's bad in all of it. why did you need to do this? Why couldn't you just have her in the Yoga Hosers 2, some other shit? Why did you have to put her in your most classic movie in a pivotal role and do it in a way where you're totally breaking the fourth wall because you know it's his daughter and she's playing his friend's daughter? It's just fucking like, what the fuck? It's stupid. It's distracting. It's dumb. And by the way, fucking Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith's daughter have a very weird chemistry, don't you think? Did you notice that at all? The looks that they gave each other early on, especially.
No, I don't know.
I did, and I suspect Jason Mewes has been fucking Kevin Smith's daughter.
Oh God!
Probably fucked her on set for this movie.
You heard it here on the Crack Cellar.
Yeah, that's our Crack Cellar moment of the day here. I swear to God, I saw some shit. And I'm just like, their chemistry seems a little weird. It doesn't seem like daddy-daughter chemistry. It seems like a little different. But that's neither here nor there. Who really cares? But the movie sucks, and so I'm going to harp on things like that. Now, back to another reason why I hate this movie. Kevin Smith, in the most weird move of all time, inserted himself, playing himself, as the villain of the fucking movie. Yes, you just heard that correct. That was not a Starbucks order for coffee. That was how I described Kevin Smith writing the villain role of this movie. It's retarded, and it is transparent. He wants to talk. He is sick of not having any lines in his own movie, his best movie, the one everyone likes for the most part. I mean, like you said, you like Dogma. I like Dogma 2. Clerks is good. Clerks 2 was good. He has some good movies. But Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is just like this fucking classic. And you could just tell that he did everything he possibly could to give himself avenues to speak in this movie when he never did in the past. So when he first introduces himself as basically the villain of this movie, I say, okay, dumb, but if this is how he can trick the system, so to speak, so that he can keep the purity of Silent Bob intact while also having lines in the movie as a different character, okay, I don't like it, but I accept it. But then, later on, and this is one of the worst scenes in the entire fucking movie, we get to the fucking KKK scene. And this scene is retarded. So I guess we have to go back a little bit. Fred Armisen shows up again on top of their van in the drive-thru after they order their vegan meals and just starts throwing tater tots at him and calling them hater tots.
That rant was awesome.
That was legitimately funny. One of the funniest parts of the entire movie. After that passes, the girl who, by the way, apparently we're supposed to believe Jason Mewes' on-screen daughter is a fucking ninja trained by shinobis in Japan, because she in this entire movie is essentially a super soldier. So she appears like a fucking ghost behind this guy on top of the van without making any noise or movements, like does a little weird neck move and like knocks him out or whatever. He falls to the ground and they steal the fucking van and they ditch Jay and Silent Bob. Now, at this point, I was really angry at this movie because why in the fuck is it even an idea in your writer's room that you're going to make it that his daughter that is doing this whole thing to go to Chronic Con to see Jay and Silent Bob, aka Blunt Man and Chronic, because they're super fans and they're trying to bring their fucking Asian friend for her farewell whatever because she's such a huge fan. And everyone's such a huge fan. Then how the fuck did you not notice that you were with them the whole fucking movie? Are you kidding me? It is so outrageous. You cannot undersell how fourth wall breaking this movie is in the weirdest ways. And this is one of them. You're expected to believe that they have no inkling that these two are the guys, even though they dress just like them. They look just like them. No fucking questions about it, super fans?
I never even thought about that. That makes me kind of feel stupid, to be honest.
Give me a fucking break. About that. So at this point, they leave, they ditch him. And at this point, if you were Blunt Man and Chronic, you're like, fuck these bitches, we're out, we're going. But no, they go after him and they find him at a fucking KKK rally that's just out in the middle of a fucking construction site in LA, because they know there's so many of those out there. And is the dumbest scene in the world. The only reason this scene was invented was A, to establish that they get back together after they got ditched, and to B, give Silent Bob his fucking speaking role. So Silent Bob, no, there's no purity. That wasn't a trick. The Kevin Smith villain role was not a trick to keep his purity. Fuck no, because he talks a lot in this movie, and it starts here with his little monologue tricking the fucking dumb KKK guys that he's their boss or something. It's ridiculous. It's not going to work. That's real. It's not real. You're not going to have these fucking, if these are real KK guys, you can't just show up looking like Silent Bob and just start barking orders and they're just going to listen to you and not attack you. Horseshit. And then the fucking scene ends with him telling him to duck. Oh, why duck? And then the fucking van comes and it fucking spews shit from a porta potty all over them. This scene was unnecessary. It was stupid. It was disgusting. And the only reason it was really put in was to appease Kevin Smith's woke friends in Hollywood. This was a fucking orange man bad masturbatory scene.
Yeah, for sure. In the beginning of the movie, when Fred Armisen's character was talking about the hater tots, and he said white nationalists, like it genuinely was still kind of funny to me because it was so like out of nowhere. I was like, I hope that's not like foreshadowing for some more intense humor in that fashion. And then it came to the KKK scene, and I was like, oh my god, this is like they're actually going out of the way to have these elements in their movie. Like, who are you talking to right now? Your audience does not enjoy this shit.
Yeah.
It's
so stupid.
I still thought the Glengarry thing was funny.
Yeah, so at that point they're back together again, and some bullshit scenes, and they get to the comic book convention, Chronic Con, where, oh my god, where they get there and she makes the statement, oh, everyone's dressed like you guys. Oh, no shit, Sherlock. And at that point, she still doesn't even fucking get it. I wanted to punch my goddamn television.
Yeah. I don't know how they didn't get attacked in the convention center. It's like it's like all of them are like they're worshiping their idols, and it's like their idols walk right past them and no one fucking recognizes it.
Yeah. Oh my god. So where to start with this fucking this debacle, which is the end of the movie that takes place at this comic book convention. At this point, the movie becomes a rotation of cameos. I mean, it almost always was, but, you know, there was a stretch in the middle where it became Jay and Silent Bob actual reboot, where with the girls, and didn't like any of that shit either. But then you get to this, and you have a couple of cool cameos, and then just a whole bunch of bad ones.
Yeah. The movie probably is at its worst at this point. It drastically goes down a fucking hill.
A hill? I feel like that's really generous. I think it's an indented inward cliff with spikes at the bottom. So
yeah, the spikes being that fucking Asian girl.
Yes. So first off, we have this thing where they're going to go be extras in this fucking movie that's in the movie, and they go to the thing, and you see a clip of this movie. And by the way, we're glossing over a whole bunch of like pointless crap that happens, but we don't really need to talk about it. It's all fucking drivel. It's little cameos from fucking characters that you maybe might remember from some obscure Kevin Smith movie. It's like, whatever. We talked about the one that you think of the most, the Ben Affleck one. They were all bad except for the original Clerks one, I think. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're looking at this video, and it's a chick that looks like she's supposed to be Captain Marvel playing Chronic, which is Jay's character in this fake movie in the movie. And then you have...
Ironically, I'm pretty sure that's the actress that's playing Supergirl.
Oh, God.
On the CW.
I have no idea. I don't watch that. But then you have Val Kilmer playing Blunt Man, and he doesn't even talk, which is, I guess, because Blunt Man doesn't talk because it's Silent Bob, but at the same time, it's just like, you got Val Kilmer, and he's gonna sit there and have like creepy looks on his face. So it's just really weird. And then fucking Cheech shows up and just like starts like doing philosophical fucking
that was pretty
speeches. Funny. And at this point, it's like breaking back to the crowd, and the people are like, "This is the greatest movie of all time." And I'm just sitting here like, dude, this wouldn't even be the greatest schlock on the Sci-Fi Channel on an original movie circa 2004. Okay, shut the fuck up with the best movie of all time.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so Kevin Smith is talking up a storm, so many lines for himself he wrote, lots of little witty jokes. You can tell that he spent a lot of time on his lines and not nearly as much on others. And this whole little thing where fucking ninja daughter is going to go abduct Kevin Smith and replace him with Kevin Smith, but Silent Bob, and then bring the Asian on stage, who then proceeds to tell us that she's not an Asian, she's a Russian, even though she's clearly an Asian actress and not a Russian, is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Then all of the extras they brought in for the actual movie itself by Kevin Smith ended up being her soldiers? What? It was the dumbest writing.
You're talking about the cock knocker soldiers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, so wait a second, Kevin Smith, so you accidentally hired her soldiers as your real extras that you were using? Because he wasn't surprised when he saw them. Or are we supposed to believe that they just, like, knocked out the real ones and stole their suits? Like, what? It was really weird.
Whatever, that all could happen. I'm thinking that's all more believable than the fact that girl traveled with Kevin Smith's daughter and other friends.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird. Like, why did you have to do all that? Your plan was to break into this convention, and that was your entry point, was traveling from another state with a group of little girls.
Yeah, it made absolutely no sense. This movie has some of the worst writing that Kevin Smith has ever done in his career.
He's kind of been out of touch for a long time. And that whole movie felt out of touch. I guess if you could sum it up, that's what I would say. An out-of-touch movie. Rest in pepperonis, Jay and Silent Bob.
That's what it feels like. So the ending. One of Jay's clear in the beginning, one of his clear motivations, he wants to stop this movie because his character gets gender swapped into the Captain Marvel lookalike character or whatever. And so we get to the very end of this movie, and his attitude completely changes randomly, and he's just like, yay, girl power. I'm glad they gender swapped me. And that was like his big revelation at the end of the fucking movie.
Well, he got a daughter.
Exactly.
I think that's, yeah.
It was rawr, woman power. That's what it was. And it's just like, dude, that's not Jay. Fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, the whole movie was fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah, essentially it was a pointless sequel that tries to hide its pointlessness with a milquetoast commentary on Hollywood's obsession with reboots. It's ridiculous, and then they end it with a Russian scene. Really? We've infiltrated your pop culture and your elections. What are you fucking talking about? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, my eyes rolled into the back of my fucking head when that scene happened. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It's like, why? After everything, this is how you want to go out?
Mm-hmm. and then, like, fucking, during all this crap happening, fucking Silent Bob gets thrown out into, like, Iron Man factory. Like, they literally throw him out the convention, and he lands, and he looks up, and there's an Iron Man factory next to him with 3 Iron Man suits. So he just walks in there, gets himself an Iron Man suit, and comes back, and he kills all the Russians. So the ending of this movie is Silent Bob finding a random Iron Man suit, getting in it,
punching Nazis,
and then punching Nazis with his Iron Man suit. The end. Fucking what a wonderful movie. The acting was almost universally shit, but except for what we've already mentioned. Like, there's a couple characters that acted well, Justin Long and Fred Armisen. All of the main characters, like the actual people associated with this franchise, sucked in it. It's almost like they knew the movie was going to suck, so they just didn't even try.
It was almost like they weren't actually the people. Remember, just puppets on strings.
Yeah. And then back briefly to that KKK scene. I think there are more fake Nazis in Hollywood productions than there are real Nazis in the entire world in real life.
For sure.
Can you believe that? It's insane.
Yeah. I think the last person to actually use that type of humor correctly was Quentin Tarantino.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In Django.
Yep. He nailed it.
He did nail it. I was like, you know what? Every time I've seen it since then, it's just so heavy-handed and clearly comes with an agenda behind it.
Yeah.
I realized I was watching a movie about the director's feelings.
So back to the convention briefly. Did you notice in the beginning? It shows like a splash of different scenes, like, oh, they're goers of the carnival or whatever, and it shows like a trans guy and a drag queen and some furries and shit.
Yeah,
it's like they're trying to like shove in your face, we're woke, guys. You know, we're on your team. Please love us. It's so cringy and desperate. I couldn't believe it. This whole convention, it's like on one hand, okay, pop culture conventions in real life are like that now. They do have all these fucking crazy people there. But there's also 90% normal people too. And you chose to only show these people in that little thing. And it's just like, fuck, dude. And then you get into it a little bit, and there's this dumb throwaway scene with a vendor where he's like, hey guys, want to see my LGBTQAPROFMF fucking G+++ shirt of Jay and Silent Bob making out?
And then that was one of those scenes where like it was so bad, and then when he showed the t-shirt, I couldn't tell if he was trying to make fun of that shit or if he was being serious. Like, was this a scene of appreciation, or was this a scene of like clowning?
I think they were trying to be serious with it, and I think it was pure. I think it was pure movie cancer, and it needs to be killed with fire. That scene, that was a fucking abomination.
I suspected most of this movie was cancer.
In one, just to give a little positive at the end here, one positive thing from that convention was the Jason Biggs and Vanderbeek scene.
That was funny.
That one was, I forgot about that till just now. That was legitimately funny because I think Jason Biggs, it almost felt like he was actually talking about the movie we were watching. Like what he was saying about the movie inside of it. To me, when I was listening to it, I heard him talking about the movie we were watching, and it was so poignant and true. And it's just like, it goes to show you how confusing this movie is, because it's like the movie is aware of how bad it is. Or is it? I don't know. It's hard to tell sometimes. Sometimes it seems like it's on purpose, and then other times you're like, oh no, this is just a horrible fucking movie.
I think what happened was he just hired all these people back because that's what makes the movie good, I guess, now. And some of them just came with their, own agendas. And when he filmed the scenes, he had no choice but to use some of them. He's like, well, I can't not have Jason Biggs' character. I have to have all of them. I have to have the original Blunt Man and Chronic.
Yeah, really fucking weird. But, I mean, overall, this has got to be one of the worst endings to a comedy movie ever. I think of all the comedy movies I've seen, and, comedies don't need a super strong ending, but you just think of all the comedies you've seen. How many times has there been a comedy with an ending so bad where it literally ruined the entire, like the back third of the movie literally ruined any semblance of respect the first 2/3 had, even though then it was slim for those as well.
That new Dumb and Dumber.
That
one was kind of bad.
That was a bad ending, yeah. No, you're right. That wasn't a great ending either.
That was a really bad ending.
Yeah, it was bad. I think this is worse, though.
It is worse. It's way worse. This is the worst in my eyes, for sure.
Yeah, I think so. I think we just saw the worst ending.
The worst.
Of a comedy movie. I mean, definitely the worst ending of a Kevin Smith movie. I'll take the ending of Tusk any day of the week over the ending of this fucking piece of garbage. And
yeah, Tusk was a fucking comedy masterpiece in comparison to this.
It really was. Yeah, it really was. But I think that we've poked at this hornet's nest enough now. I'll do one final question to you, Broadcaster Nickels. Is this it for Kevin Smith? Is this movie going to sink him?
I think it's going to sink the IP. For a while at least. I don't think the IP, the universe, the franchise, whatever you want to call it, is going to come back for quite some time. But is Kevin Smith as director? No, I think he's not done yet. I think we might get another Tusk type movie eventually, or Yoga Hosers, or whatever the fuck he comes up with.
Well, this is what I'll say about it. Kevin Smith can't get financed anymore. This movie, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, he paid for it himself. So this movie, it's almost more like a fan film, but made by the original creator in the way that he just made it. There's no studio behind it, and he cannot get movies made anymore by Hollywood. They don't trust him because the last couple movies he did make were, Cop Out. They even make fun of Cop Out in this movie a lot, which I thought was kind of cringy because that's like your latest movie almost. Why are you fucking let it rest a little while before you start making fun of it? Like, you're still there, dude. You're not out of it yet.
God, that's sad. I didn't know he paid for all of it.
Yeah, he did.
God.
And to me, that means that this movie had to be good for him to get Hollywood's trust back. I don't know if the woke bullshit in this movie is enough to just appease them, and maybe that's why he did that. Maybe it is just to get more funding from Hollywood. I don't know. But I think this movie is so bad, it doesn't matter how much woke shit's in it. I do not think that Hollywood is going to give him another chance, and that's why I think this is it for Kevin. I think this is it. I think he's just going to become a podcaster from here on.
God. Breast and pepperonis, Kevin Smith.
Yeah. It's like, man, you're going to go out ruining your best movie. It's heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. But, Broadcaster Nickels, is there anything else you would like to say about this movie?
I was going in hoping this movie would be a passing of the torch, but it ended up being an extinguishing of the flame. It's a sad day in the broadcasting world.
It really is. All right. Well, here on the Crack Cellar, we use the patented Joker rating system. Broadcaster Nickels, on that system, what do you rate Jay and Silent Bob Reboot?
I'm going to have to give it one humiliating Jared Leto.
Dun, dun, dun! Oh, man. Man, oh, man.
May God help us all.
It is with a solemn heart and heavy eyelids that I also give this movie a Jared Leto. I think it's Kevin Smith's worst fucking movie by 1,000 miles. And it's heartbreaking, and I think This is it. I think this is it for him. So, on that note, we will close out. Rest in peace, Kevin Smith. It was a long, strange journey.
Alanis Morissette, call me.
She's still pretty hot.
Is she?